They said it was a routine security check. Just another passenger, just another flight. But the moment they saw her, everything changed. She wasn't loud. She wasn't disruptive. She had a first-class ticket, a spotless record, and a schedule packed with meetings worth billions. Still, within minutes, eyes were on her. Whispers spread. Then came the uniformed officers walking down the aisle. Passengers pulled out their phones as she was asked to stand. No clear explanation. No apology. Just suspicion hanging thick in the air. A black woman in a tailored suit, being escorted off a plane she had every right to board. What no one on that aircraft knew was that the woman they were quietly judging wasn't just another traveler. And by the time the airline realized who they had humiliated, the damage wouldn't be measured in embarrassment, but in billions. The real question is, how did a single act of bias turn into one of the most expensive mistakes in airline history? For years, she had built her life on precision, discipline, and results. As the founder and CEO of a fast-growing investment firm, her days started before sunrise and ended long after most office lights had gone dark. Boardrooms, strategy calls, global partnerships. This was her normal. Every decision she made moved markets. Every signature carried weight. She had earned her seat at tables few people ever see. Not through luck, not through favors, but through relentless work in industries where women who looked like her were often underestimated before they ever spoke. Travel was part of the rhythm. First-class flights, tight connections, polished presentations waiting in her briefcase. On this particular morning, she was headed to finalize a multi-billion-dollar funding agreement, one that could reshape an entire airline's future. The deal had taken months of negotiation. Trust had been built carefully, piece by piece. To most passengers boarding that flight, she was just another well-dressed executive. Calm, focused, unremarkable. But beneath the tailored suit was someone who had grown used to sideways glances, to being mistaken for the assistant instead of the decision-maker, to proving, over and over again, that she belonged exactly where she stood. Still, nothing in her years of navigating quiet prejudice prepared her for what was about to unfold before that plane ever left the ground. Her identity would be questioned in a way that would shake more than just her pride. It would expose a bias far bigger than one uncomfortable flight. It started with a look, not the casual glance of a flight attendant checking seat numbers. This was longer, sharper, a pause that lingered just a second too long on her face before drifting down to her boarding pass. The attendant forced a tight smile and walked away, but the energy had shifted. Minutes later, another staff member approached. He asked to see her ticket again, then her ID. His tone was polite, but his eyes carried doubt. Around her, other passengers settled into leather seats, sipping drinks, flipping through magazines. No one else was being questioned. She handed over everything calmly. Name matched. Seat matched. Payment confirmed. There was nothing to find. Yet they didn't leave. A whisper between crew members. A glance back at her. One of them disappeared behind the curtain separating first class from the rest of the plane. The delay stretched. Passengers began to notice. A woman across the aisle pretended not to stare. A man leaned into the aisle to listen. Then two uniformed security officers stepped onto the aircraft. The cabin fell into a hush. They walked straight toward her. Her heart pounded, but her posture stayed composed. She had navigated hostile boardrooms before. She knew how to remain steady under pressure. Still, this was different. This wasn't a negotiation. This wasn't business. This felt personal. She was told to come with them. No explanation. No accusation. Just an instruction. She asked why. A vague response about a ticketing discrepancy. But her boarding pass was still valid, scanned, confirmed. She pointed that out. The officer avoided her eyes. Phones began to rise. Subtle at first, then openly recording. Humiliation crept in, slow and burning. She could feel the weight of every stare. The unspoken assumptions filling the silence. She stood, refusing to let them see her hands shake. As she stepped into the aisle, someone muttered, "What did she do?" That question hung in the air like a verdict. Escorted off the plane, she was led back through the jet bridge. Passengers watched as if witnessing a spectacle. No one asked if she was okay. No one questioned the scene unfolding in front of them. To them, there must have been a reason. There always is, right? Inside the terminal, the story changed. Now it wasn't a ticket issue. It was a security concern. But no one could explain what that concern was. She requested specifics. None came. She asked if she was being accused of a crime. Silence. Minutes turned into nearly an hour. Her phone buzzed repeatedly in her hand, messages from her executive team waiting in the destination city. The meeting was scheduled for that afternoon. The funding agreement sat on the edge of final approval. Representatives from the airline were preparing press statements about their new partnership. And yet, here she stood, treated like a suspect. Then came the final blow. Her seat had been reassigned. The flight would depart without her. No apology, no accountability, just a quiet suggestion that she could rebook. As the plane pushed back from the gate, she watched through the glass. The same airline executives who had praised her leadership weeks earlier had no idea their most critical investor had just been publicly removed from their aircraft. The real turbulence isn't in the air. It's in the assumptions we refuse to confront. And until that changes, whose seat might be taken next?